Hi Sunflowers, I am back with another celebrity memoir review. Today's review will be short and sweet like my other celebrity memoirs. It's by Trevor Noah called Born a Crime. And I will start with my disclaimers as usual. My reviews will not be a play-by-play, page-by-page version of the book. Neither will it be a critique completely of the book. I just try to speak a little bit about what I liked or what I might not have liked in the book. And a special disclaimer for this one, I don't think there was any part that I didn't like. But yeah, and the pictures that you see are probably taken from the internet. I do not own any copyright for the pictures, and neither do I own the copyright for the background music that you hear. They are all thanks to the great www World Wide Web. I think that's all for now. If I do get any disclaimers in between, you'll have to bear with me like you guys always do, Sunflowers. So let's go. Trevor Noah is someone whose content I really like. The way he speaks, the confidence he speaks with, the comedic timing is all perfect, I feel, to a certain extent. Nobody's perfect. But yeah, I really like his content. And when it comes to Born a Crime, I think my respect for him went even higher, considering the circumstances of how he was born. And I do have to probably make this a little longer than my other celebrity memoirs because there's a lot of information, a lot of tidbits, but they're really, really tragic tidbits about the apartheid that I don't know if anyone else has revealed in their books, but I learned from this particular book. During the apartheid, in the place where Trevor Noah was born, it was a crime to have an interracial baby. Interracial in the sense of one parent being of, South African descent and another being white descent, Britishers. They were setting up their colonies there and they were treating the natives as, for want of better word, slaves. I don't know if I'm being politically correct. Please bear with me again. So at that time, if an interracial baby was seen to be born, there were investigations carried out, and if the father was a Britisher, he was let off. Discrimination, of course, we know it now, but that was during a different time. If the mother was a Britisher, that means that the father was a South African and this person might be imprisoned, might be punished with, violent punishment, might even die. These were the circumstances in which he was born, and his mother met a nice British officer. She wanted a baby. I am not going to go into too many details considering the vast ages of my audience, but yes, his father was not of South African descent. I'm not sure if I remember properly whether it was some other country descent or whether his mother lied, saying that. I do remember that his mother lied. His mother lied, saying that whenever the investigators came, she would say like, "Oh, he's left the country," or like, "He's left me," or something like that. But actually, his father was a really nice person who he would meet every once in a while, and his mother would make sure that they were avoiding or evading police and stuff like that. And it was the time of the apartheid. You didn't know when you were going to be kidnapped. You didn't know when you were going to be abused. You didn't know, and you could be arrested for the most simplest of crimes if you were of South African descent. That was the time when they thought that was okay. And not just because they thought that was okay, the whites were ruling them. So it was a really, really tough time. And despite of that, despite of showcasing the tough times that he had and the tough times he faced, Trevor Noah has maintained the comedic timing throughout the book. And it's really sad that comedy comes from a dark place, because I feel that this could have been a more tragic book written by someone who was growing up during the apartheid. But Trevor Noah has tried to make sense of it, make light of it, and make it interesting for readers, and it's written really well. And he has agreed and acknowledged that he was a really naughty and mischievous child, but he was let off the hook because he was, half white. So whether it was his relatives, whether it was his grandparents, they'd be like, no, don't punish Trevor because we might, we might face sin or something like that because we're punishing a white kid. So he was considered white amongst his other black friends. I'm sorry if I'm sounding discriminatory. It's not about the color, but it's how he's written it, that he was considered that way at that time. And so he would just play these pranks, he would do all these tricks, these naughty stuff as a kid, and still be let off the hook. But he has mentioned that, he has acknowledged that, and he's also acknowledged the abusive people that his mother met, whether it was her boyfriend or someone, and how toxic relationships continue, like how it is viewed as a kid. And I'm just hoping that anyone who reads it and is in a toxic or an abusive relationship tries their best to get out of it, because his mother has suffered a lot. And another disclaimer, I know I'm saying it rather late in the video, but you might have seen it in the title. Spoiler alert. So he did mention a really, really traumatic incident for me to read. I don't know how he maintains the comedy even while narrating it when he faced such a traumatic incident. He had an abusive stepfather, the boyfriend of the mother who became later, I think, the stepfather. Yes. And whenever his mother went to report the abuse she faced as a victim of, domestic abuse, he was living in a time where it was okay for men to beat up their wives, apparently. And if a woman came to the police station to report that her husband had hit her or abused her physically, they would just let the husband off, saying that this is our tradition, because even Trevor had seen his grandparents do the same, his uncles do the same to their wives. And it was a norm. It was like, if she doesn't listen to me, I get to punish her, or something of that twisted mentality. And so even when she went to report, he was let off, and so there was no case filed. There was no FIR, there was no case filed that saying he was an abuser or he was a criminal. There was no charge sheet, nothing. And was let off the hook every time. And at the end, eventually his mother leaves her boyfriend or something of the sort. She had another kid with that stepfather boyfriend. And he was the stepbrother of Trevor. He feels that he was loved more, stuff like that. Maybe that is the sibling syndrome. I'm not going to go into it too much. But yeah, there was another kid there, and she left with Trevor as well. And on the way, I think they were coming out of church or something, and his stepfather, ex-stepfather, whatever you call him, took out a gun and shot Trevor's mother, his own wife, ex-wife. But the way he shot her, because they were all running, they saw him with a gun, and his mother said, like, just run. The grandparents were running, Trevor was running, his brother was running, his mom was running. The angle with which they were trying to get in the car or something, they were all running, and he shot his mother from behind. The bullet went through her back, I believe, and shot out through her nose or mouth. I'm really sorry, I don't remember the exact place. She was in the hospital, she survived. And she would always say, God would save me. And Trevor would feel so frustrated saying that you are putting too much faith in this God. And he goes to the end of the world, literally, and tries to raise money for her treatment. And he says, like, I saved you, like, I paid for it. And it's like, but she says, but you were brought to me by God. And he knows that even today, the person who shot his mother is probably living near her in South Africa. And when this guy, shot his own ex-wife, and then he was going to commit suicide or something, and somebody stopped him. I think it was Trevor. And then he went to the police and surrendered or something of the sort, because he had no prior criminal record. I think you remember me saying that they weren't creating a charge sheet or putting any criminal record for a guy who was hitting his wife, because that was the norm. Because he didn't have that, he was like let off with a warning or something like that, even though he shot, because he had confessed and everything. The trial was a farce, I believe, because if a person shoots another person and is let off with some minimal warning or like the most minimal punishment ever, I don't know how that's justifiable. It's really sad going through that, but Trevor worked hard in life. He's reached the place he has reached now, and I wish the best for him and his mother. And there are hilarious incidents in it, there are tragic incidents in it, but the comedic timing is maintained throughout. There's consistency. It's really beautifully written, and I would recommend it for anyone to read, probably young adults and above, because of these, little traumatic incidents. Overall, a great book, Sunflowers, and you can let me know in the comments if you have read it or if there are any other books you want me to read. Please share this with your friends or family if you like my review, and ring the bell to be notified when I upload a new video. Thank you for all the Sunflowers who have subscribed, and your subscription will be an encouragement. Until then, bye!